very good evening and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Gugulethu Cele. Well, today I'm joined by Claire Cobbeldick, Marketing Head of Gumtree SA in our Cape Town studios on some tips as to how to beat the back-to-school financial blues. Claire, good to have you with us today. I take it for a lot of parents who must be watching this show this evening, they must be thinking, gosh, what do they do spending all that money in December on toys and games that they could have potentially been putting back into school products now?
Hi Gugulethu, absolutely. You know, December is just such an expensive month. It's very hard not to spend money during December. And I think that it's tough for everybody in January and February, but particularly parents. You know, you've got all of these costs relating to school, lots of them, in fact, hidden costs or not the obvious ones. And it just makes January, February, even March really, really tough financial times for parents.
But given the fact that Gumtree is online e-commerce, I'm not sure whether to refer to it as e-commerce or m-commerce, but basically an opportunity for individuals to get rid of products that they don't want and sell them online. This is clearly the time where they need to perhaps be reviewing what kind of toys their children actually need.
Absolutely. So it's a wonderful time anyway just to be doing some spring cleaning as you start the new year, refreshing the home for your New Year's resolution, but also an amazing way to just get a little bit of extra cash at a time when you most need it. And surprisingly, a lot of parents would be surprised how tradable their kids' stuff is. You know, we'll often hear people saying, oh, I don't think I'll get anything for my kids' old toys. But there are, you know, millions of users on Gumtree every month, and you'll be surprised at how tradable, how liquid the trade and exchange is in kids' stuff. So toys is always a huge category. Kids' bikes, outdoor equipment, jungle gyms, kids' books. And then the kind of technology toys that overlap with things like the leapfrog gadgets and some of the baby toys, the Fisher-Price toys are very, very popular on the site. We can see how many responses, how many replies, how many views these ads get. And the baby and kids section is one of the busiest on Gumtree.
I'm happy you touched on books as well as perhaps sports gear for those who will be in school participating in extramural activities. How often and how popular are these particular segments as well when it comes to online reselling?
Well, you know, I think that extramural and sports activities is one of those hidden costs that I was referring to. You know, you cover off the basics, you know you're going to have to cover off fees, you know that you're going to need uniforms. But then suddenly your child is a whiz at cricket and you've got to get pads and bats and helmets and bags and all of the costs relating to that, as well as actually then the transport to these games, which are all kind of more hidden expenses. And so there's a real opportunity to purchase some of these things secondhand. You know, he might be a whiz this year and next year your child is wanting to take up chess instead. So it's not necessary to purchase firsthand. So there's lots of kids' sport equipment that's available online. And then if your son or daughter has given up the sport from last year and decided to take something else up, sell their stuff through Gumtree. There's a market looking for your unwanted, unused things. Also sizing, you know, with children, I think that's probably why it's a category that does so well, is your child has probably grown out of so much of their stuff, whether it's because they've, you know, matured and their old toys are just no longer what they're interested in, or because they've gotten bigger, you know, kids' clothes, and then the sports, you know, the bat might be too small or the boots might be too small. So, you know, they just might have gotten larger, and therefore it's great to pick up and to sell cheaper items.
With a lot of these items that we've mentioned, how does one determine the average price, given that there might be wear and tear involved, the lack of demand? But how do you go around determining the average price to sell for?
So in some of our categories, we offer a service which is a price checker. And that's for things like laptops or cell phones or cars. And you can go and actually put in the model that you've got, and the tool will share back with you the average price on the site and the volume of listings. So you've got an old Samsung, it'll tell you how many Samsung S3s there are and what the average price is. It's a little bit more difficult for items that aren't so standardized or that there isn't such a volume of. But my recommendation there is that the market actually determines the value. So certainly you're expecting a discount because something is second-hand rather than new. Even if it's only been a little bit used, you're expecting a 10 or at least 10 to 15% discount just because it's not brand new. And then look at the average prices for items in that category on the site, and then also test it. It's very simple with our app to update and edit your ad. So put it up for a price. If you feel that you're not getting as many responses as you would like, then just lower the price slightly. So use the marketplace. Really all you need to do is find somebody who's prepared to pay. It's of value to them at the price that you're asking. So use the marketplace itself to help you guesstimate the right price.
Claire, we often hear the phrase cash is king. From your website observations as well as the level of transactions, what's the most popular payment method?
So it varies significantly depending on the size of the item and the value of the item. If it's a motorbike, for example, it's less likely to be in cash, but we do encourage for standard items, the sorts of things that we're talking about now, that cash is usually the simplest mechanism for transaction. Because of concerns around safety, we recommend meeting, that buyers and sellers meet in a public place. So usually when I'm selling stuff, I'll invite them into the office during daytime. There are always people around. It's a very, safe, formal corporate environment. If it's an item that needs to be viewed at home, then I recommend always, just to have somebody there with you, or somebody knowing that you're having people through to view items. I've got a friend, for example, who puts all her items that are up for sale in the garage. So she won't bring people through into the house, but creates a space that she feels comfortable to bring strangers into. And then from a transaction point of view, there are options. So, cash is the first, but we've recently partnered with a company called Shepherd. It's powered by Standard Bank, owned by Standard Bank. And this is a service where you place money, the buyer of your item places money into a third-party account, and then that money is only released to you as the seller once the buyer is happy with the quality of the product. And there the transaction happens via a courier. So the money goes into a third-party account, the item is couriered to you, and if the buyer is happy, then they release the money and the funds go through to the seller. So, there are alternatives to cash, such as Pay with Shepherd, and we have a similar service for automotive vehicles, which is MotorFin. So it's the same idea. Money goes into a third party and they facilitate the buying and selling process on your behalf. Just because in those transactions, the volumes of cash are often difficult to trade in cash. And then finally, EFT is always an option as well. But we recommend for the seller that they should only release the item when the funds have cleared. There have been instances of fraud with fake proof of purchases being sent via SMS or even email, so that the seller must wait and confirm with their bank that the money has cleared before they actually release the item.
Claire, what about the terms and conditions, fees and costs that might be associated with using a platform like Gumtree?
So Gumtree is a free service. It's a service that we create a platform where buyers meet sellers, and we make no money off the transaction. So whatever the buyer and seller agree in terms of price, there's no cut that comes to Gumtree. That's a direct transaction and agreement between buyer and seller. And then to list on the site is also absolutely free, and it's a really, really simple process. It shouldn't take you longer than a couple of minutes, especially if you download our app. It's super simple on your smartphone. There are options to bump up your ad or feature your ad. which come with some costs. So the cheapest is about 29 Rand, and they vary into a few hundred if you take a recurring promotion of your ad. And we find that those are particularly good for small businesses who want to promote their services or their products on an ongoing basis, or if you want to move something really fast, you leaving the country and you've got a whole lot of stuff that you want to sell, or a car, you want to get yourself your new car and you can't until you sell your old one. And in those instances, you can purchase advertising options from us.
Well, we've certainly learned quite a bit in this evening's conversation, but Claire, for the parents at home who might be watching and looking for a quick and easy way to make a little extra cash, perhaps if you can give us a recap of the key takeaways for tonight's theme.
So the first thing is just to say that parents should be looking for second-hand options before necessarily purchasing new in all of the stuff that they might need for school. So textbooks for university and school students, the equipment required for classroom activities. So some schools require a tablet, for example, sporting equipment, any of those things. It's a really good option to look second-hand on a classified site like Gumtree. And then if you're looking for a little bit of cash to help you fund your back to school, there are many of your kids' unused items that you'll be able to actually generate an income on. So toys, books, technology, sports equipment, furniture, even clothes, DVDs, games, all of that stuff is really tradable on Gumtree and an opportunity for you to just fund your way through this back to school period.
Thank you so much for your time today, Claire. We've certainly touched on quite a bit, and I'm sure there must be a lot of parents who will be intrigued with the life of online purchases and selling going forward. But a big thank you once more to Claire Cobbeldick, who is the marketing head at Gumtree South Africa, for joining us this evening and giving us insights as to how we can beat the 2016 financial blues, especially for parents with kids who have gone back to school. Well, do participate in the conversation at CNBC Africa using the hashtag #Finance410, or you can tweet myself at Gugulethu to give us more insights and your thoughts on financial topics that you want us to cover.